Peace, family. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. I don't know how many people, I'm gonna get in here right off the bat. I got a lot of topics I want to talk on and discuss today. Hold on, let me turn this down. I'm messing up. Yeah, I don't know how many people I'm gonna get in here. I got a lot of topics to discuss. And we're gonna talk about them and make them do what it do, how we normally do. I don't want to waste too much time. I like to get into my stories right off the bat. I see I only got about like two people in here, one person, but still one person, two people, 20, 50, 100, the show got to go on, and I'm going to make it do what it do. So first off, family, I want to, touch on like I said, I hope everyone is having a good weekend too. And thanks for tapping in with me. And make sure you like the video, family, because it, puts it out there. The more people recommend the video. So, my videos could start getting into the YouTube algorithm. Because I notice a lot what YouTube tries to do with my content is, it tries to suppress it because the topics I talk about. But they do that on every, social media platform, in fairness. But, when you're talking about things from a black perspective with a black mind, they, like to suppress the content because it's empowering people. They rather people, be partaking in the low vibrational, degenerate nonsense, which at the end of the day don't matter. But when you come in, and trying to empower your people, they try to, suppress that type of content. But yeah, let me talk about it, family. Let me get right into it. I want to talk about this brother right here. I was always hearing these commercials when I'm driving in the car, and come to find out, I was sent a video of just who this brother was because when I was listening to them Top Dog commercials that come on the radio, I'm thinking like, who is this brother? It sounds like kind of like Uncle Murder, the rapper. But then, I was like, nah, this ain't Uncle Murder. But then, I got the video of who this brother is and, his story. So I got that, because I found it to be interesting, who this brother is, he's in all actuality he's doing for self. He got his own business to where though he's doing several things in the voiceover department section, and we're gonna walk through and talk about it, family. Let me pull it up. Fair use. Put this volume up.
New tonight, if you listen to the radio, you might have heard this voice.
We having a tailgate party Sunday.
Well, you may not know is the man behind the ad lives right here in Charlotte.
Our Joe Bruno introduces.
Salute to this brother. He from down south Charlotte. This brother's everywhere. So he getting at $1. So that's good in all actuality that he's able to do for self and get to $1 because he's everywhere on the radio. You hear him nonstop.
You to the voice that some recognize throughout the country.
You hear him.
We having a tailgate party Sunday.
On just about
Top Dog just bit him.
every station.
Can I have your attention, please?
Leaving some to wonder.
Does anybody know how to find old boy?
Who he is.
You never thought it could happen, but it happened.
Meet Terrell John.
Everybody knows me as Lucky.
But don't be mistaken, this Charlotte man is wildly successful because of anything but luck.
Everything bad that I went through needed to happen for me to get here.
Growing up, Lucky says he was teased for his voice. He never could have imagined.
See, this brother was teased for his voice, what people thought was some kind of bad, deficiency or some kind of defect he had. It ended up being his superpower. Now he getting paid off of his voice. It just goes to show you, screw what the naysayers, have to say, because in all actuality, they just hate it. Maybe they want to be in your situation, or, who knows. But, this brother's, what they was picking on this brother about ended up being his superpower. So, yeah, salute to this brother.
Becoming one of the most famous voices in radio. But in 2009, when he was working as a promoter, he grew tired of how a radio station was producing his commercials. So he asked if he could do it.
So I tried it. And everybody's like, wow, your voice is like cuts through radio.
From there, car dealerships, attorney offices, and other businesses started to notice him. Today, he produces 60 to 70 commercials a week out of his Charlotte condo. They're heard across the
60, 70 commercials a week. So this brother getting to $1.
country.
Nobody tells me what to say. They want me to fluently be me, use my creative, and they trust my judgment on their marketing of their product.
Sunday Infinity.
In Charlotte, you've likely heard one of his commercials for Infinity Live. He's the owner of the club. In the coming months, he is also planning to open a hair store nearby and a car dealership in Columbia, South Carolina.
Nobody sees your vision but you. It's not their vision for them to see. So don't quit, work smarter and work harder than everybody else.
He is telling entrepreneurs.
So this brother got his hands in a lot of, different things, because you need more than one stream of income in all actuality, especially in today's type of climate.
To be bold and not to be afraid of failure. He also says you shouldn't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone.
Through failure is how I learned. And so I needed that failure to be here, because if not, I wouldn't have learned half the stuff that I know.
That's what a lot of people say, that successful family too, that, they didn't get there overnight. They failed a couple times before they got it. All of them motivational people and those people who really push for success, because nothing don't happen overnight, and the people that push that kind of narrative that something happens overnight, they just trying to, sell you something or, give you some false information, because nothing, meaningful don't, come about overnight. It takes hard work, sleepless nights, you know what I mean? Practice, you got to, keep on trying even when you fail.
Whether it is in business,
You make me wanna tit.
or singing on the radio, Lucky is not afraid to take a risk or use his voice. Reporting in Uptown,
Joe Bruno.
Channel.
Yeah, salute to this brother though, because I was thinking he was Uncle Murder for the longest. He sound, kind of like Uncle Murder, but moving right along. What else did I want to touch on? I got another story kind of, similar to this one, and being, rags to riches story, because I love, the underdog, especially in Black society, our people getting come from the bottom and make it to the top. And this is what, the next story we're going to hit on and touch on. This is, a underdog story, because I love those underdog stories of success when you come from nothing, having to get it out the mud, and then you make something of yourself, beat the odds, go against all odds. So let me find this. Where's it at? Here we go. This is a Detroit brother. He went from homeless to being a millionaire, family.
Outside fancy houses in Detroit to buying.
Yeah, you.
A man from Detroit went from being homeless, sleeping in his car outside fancy houses in Detroit, to buying one of those houses and becoming a self-made millionaire.
And guess what? He's not stopping there. Mario Kelly was able to accomplish all of this and is still motivated for more. And Dave joins us now. How did he do this?
Yeah, it's really about the power of belief and taking opportunities. Mario Kelly embodies the saying, if you believe it, you can be it. It's something he's done again and again. And I had a chance to speak with him as he starts the newest chapter of his life, tapping into the business of AI.
How may I help you today?
Hey, Emily, I'm with Dave Spencer from Fox 2 News.
The voice on the other end of this phone call is Emily. And as real as it sounds, it is in fact artificial intelligence, the latest creation of the very real Mario Kelly.
I have something called Believe in AI. It's an academy where it's also an AI assistant with emotional intelligence. You can have a 10 to 40-minute conversation. It answers the phone for you. It makes appointments.
Mario is a self-described man of action, pouncing on every opportunity that comes his way, a trait that started back in childhood.
I wanted the Nintendo games, or I wanted to go to the arcade on Woodward.
Something else I just thought about too, family. Some people, they want, to have things in life, but they're afraid to take risks and step out of their comfort zone. Nothing, is good going to come, if you don't take a risk, because in all actuality, the risk is tied to the game. But let's continue.
My mother said you had to get a job in order if you want to go to the arcade.
After working at a Ford plant and then Jacobson's, Mario eventually found himself unemployed.
At the same time, I was still living in my van. I was homeless, had got divorced. I'm from the east side, but I had manifested that I wanted to live in an area called Rosedale Park. So I would go over there every night.
Notice the words he's speaking to, manifestation, these are higher level consciousness words. You can't expect to have a good life and you talking down, negative about your situation, so on and so forth, because the way you see yourself, you're going to attract that into your life. We got the ability, we are gods, and to the sisters, they goddesses of their own world. We are the controllers of our narrative. Whatever we want in our life, we could bring it. It might be hard, but through the way we speak and, our mind, the way we thinking. But let's continue.
Find a different house to sit in front of.
He says through manifestation and a belief in himself, inspiration took hold.
I put the word Believe 313 on a rubber band, and I would go downtown and just sell rubber bands.
And one day, opportunity came knocking at one door in
That's a smart move. This brother's a hustler in all actuality.
particular.
Police were putting an abatement sticker on a house one day, and I rolled past it, and I said, what's going on? They said, we've been giving him tickets for 2 years.
He contacted the owner of that very home and offered $6,500.
He took that money, and then I just worked on the house room by room.
Other doors started to open, and Mario didn't hesitate to walk through. For instance, while touring a Shinola factory.
We walked into a room, it was filthy, it was dirty. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry, our cleaning company.
You can't be afraid to seize the opportunity and move when things come about, when things present themselves. Because if you move and you're failure, if you scared and things like that, and you afraid to take that leap of faith, which most of the time is going to be a risk, you could have lost out on the game, making millions of dollars, Case in point of what this brother's talking about.
It's terrible. I said, I have a cleaning company.
He didn't exactly have a cleaning company yet, but he did have $27 worth of cleaning supplies.
They told me.
See, this brother didn't even have a cleaning company, but said he had one, and he got it together on the back end. He said he got it. He didn't have it, but, in all actuality, he brought it forth. He brought it into fruition.
It was a proposal. I went home and tried to figure out how much it would cost to do a building of this size.
He got the job, and 313 Cleaning was born. Then came the next opportunity.
In 2021, no one wanted to go to work.
Right.
So I said, let me start Believe 313 staffing.
Word spread of his success, which again led to new chances.
I started hiring a lot of returning citizens. And they would tell me, man, your story is, we talk about your story to people in jail all the time. So I said, I need to share my story.
So he did.
I'm the cleaning guy.
Sure.
My whole journey started with cleaning. So
let's do that.
Yeah, let's show them where it started at, where the $27 started at.
That may have been where it started, but Mario Kelly has no idea where it will end, and he says that's a good place to be.
Let me know if there's anything else I can assist you with.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Yeah, see, family, I just wanted to bring that story because like I said, I love those underdog stories of, going from nothing, going from rags to riches and having to get it out the mud. And, this brother's, taking a hold of his own destiny because I'm more in favor of the entrepreneurship route. I know in life we got to do things, and sometimes with the working that we may not necessarily want to do. But, you got to do things you don't want to do until you can get to where you desire to be. And, the entrepreneur route is the best route because you can take control of your own narrative. You control your own destiny. Ain't no ceiling put on you as to what you can and what you can't make. So I just wanted, to bring this brother from Detroit who went from sleeping out his car to being a millionaire, because, that's a big step he made, and he took it, by taking a risk, but moving right along. Yeah, family, I seen something interesting. While I was given, it came across my radar. It was shared to me from a friend that, the nonsense that's going on, with, us white people doing this, in the dominant white society. They took a wolf that was extinct, thousands. Well, I don't need that. What am I doing? For thousands.
This is Google Pixel 9a with Gemini. It's free.
For hundreds of thousands of years, this wolf had been extinct, and they taken, resurrect this wolf essentially and bring it back. What they did was they took some of the gray wolf's DNA and they put it, to bring it about this dire wolf. And this wolf been extinct for, hundreds of thousands of years, So I don't think this is a good thing. And, in the dominant white society, what they like to do is play the role of God, you know what I mean, to try to bring about artificial things. And, the artificial route, ain't the right route, you know what I mean? Because what they like to do is bring artificial things to assure, that they survive because they dying off. So they think that, the artificial route is the best route because they dying off in all actuality more than what they reproducing. But, them bringing back this dire wolf, I think it'll have, grave ramifications because you brought back an animal that was extinct for hundreds of thousands of years. So some of the negative things, this animal is going to be eating other species of animal that is, is going to kill them off because in all actuality, it ain't a part of the natural food chain. So, and if they bringing back this wolf, another aspect to think about is, have they been bringing, back people? Have they, I think they have, and ain't no telling what they've been doing. Because if they got this kind of technology to resurrect, a wolf that's been gone hundreds of thousands of years, ain't no telling what these people can be doing. They could even be creating monsters, family, keeping this thing all the way real. They say, things that we see on the TV is, really what's going on. That they trying to, just tell us a little bit without giving us too much. So I got the audio and the video of what's going on with this dire wolf, and I don't think it'd be a good thing because, like I said, in white supremacist society, the dominant white society, they like to play the role of God and bring about artificial things to ensure their survival. But bringing back this dire wolf sounds like a bunch of nonsense to me, and I think it'll have ramifications. It might mess up the natural food chain, the natural order of things. But let's talk about it, family. Let me rewind it a little bit. Fair use.
We turn now to that remarkable scientific breakthrough, 13,000 years.
See, they think it's remarkable playing the role of God, but it's got ramifications because if things die off, they probably died off for a reason, and even if, man killed them, if the universe didn't want that to be brought about, it wouldn't have been brought about. So, I think it's just better, not to play God and leave things that are going, they going for a reason.
After the last dire wolf walked the earth, scientists say they've now brought them back. Here's our chief national correspondent back up and with the video tonight.
Tonight, a howl 13,000 years in the making. In a first for science, biotech company Colossal Biosciences says it brought the extinct dire wolf back to life, a species that hasn't walked the earth since the Stone Age.
It hasn't walked the earth since the Stone Age. What's the purpose of this? They bringing it back to, do some kind of nonsense, or they got something huger, because they look at things, strategically. So they got something, else they trying to bring down the pipeline. Or they're already doing some wicked things. Could they be, formulating monsters? Could they be cloning people, bringing people back? I don't think that's too far to fathom. Case in point, them doing this nonsense, bringing back a wolf that's been, extinct for hundreds of thousands of years.
The dire wolf is the first de-extinct species.
Well known from HBO's hit show Game of Thrones, ABC News given exclusive access into Colossal's lab in Dallas, where scientists are using genes from gray wolves to create.
Now that wolf, start turning on people, then they'll learn their lesson, start, killing them off, because it's a price to pay when you mess with Mother Nature and the natural order of things, if you ask me.
Dire wolves.
We've taken a gray wolf genome, a gray wolf cell, which is already genetically 99.5% identical to dire wolves, and we've edited those cells at multiple.
Key word, it could be somewhat the same, but you edit it, which means it's artificial. So it's going to be a bunch of nonsense behind it.
Places in its DNA sequence to contain the dire wolf version of the DNA. That animal looks like a dire wolf, it will behave like a dire wolf, and it is a dire wolf.
Now 7 months old, dire wolves Romulus and Remus eating well and getting bigger every day.
And David, the company tells us they're not stopping there. They plan to have woolly mammoths roaming the earth.
Sure, they're not going to stop there. That's what I'm saying. They got something else that they're trying to bring on down the pipeline. When they do one thing, they bring in more nonsense, in the near future.
Earth again by 2028, but critics argue
now they want to bring back a woolly mammoth, something from the dinosaur age. I don't rock with this, nor do I agree with it. I see it's going to be a bunch of nonsense that's going to take place. It's going to be ramifications from this. This kind of stuff could start turning on humans.
That this de-extinction could harm fragile ecosystems. David, yeah, the images are.
That's what I, think. It could harm the natural order of things. The natural circle of life, but just a bunch of nonsense. I wanted to bring it to the family. Them bringing back this dire wolf, ain't no telling what they plan on doing in the future. But moving right along, it always seems like, family, when I record, it's a bunch of nonsense that goes on, like in the outside. Maybe I need to get some kind of padding for this room, because every time I start recording, you don't hear a lick of noise, other than, when as soon as I start recording and jump on this camera, people will be coming down with those loud tailpipes going down the block, dogs barking. I just hear it all, and it sounds as soon as I start recording. But yeah, let me move right along. I digressed a little bit. That noise be getting to me sometimes. The outside distractions. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up too. I seen My sister got some cosmetic plastic surgery, and she paid, the price for it. She died, from getting, plastic surgery at some kind of janky recovery house that they had, for you to recover in after you get the plastic surgery. So I got that, and I want to talk about it, family, because yeah, I think, sisters should stop getting all this plastic cosmetic surgery. I think they try to do that and, trying to keep up with the Joneses when, you know that's a beautiful sister. She ain't need to go about, get no cosmetic, plastic surgery, to alter her appearance, because what society and the social media does nowadays is they try to keep people, constantly, trying to reinvent themselves or striving to obtain, some false sense of beauty, beauty, or, trying to push that it's an easy way to make a buck, and it's just constantly keeps you, feeling down about yourself, because then you chasing some, wanting to look like, a supermodel, or, wanting to have this amount of money, and, they feeding you that that money can be obtained overnight when it takes, working hard at it. So it's just a social media age I feel that we living in, with the internet and things, also that plays a role in people wanting to change up their appearance to where they fit they got where though they think they got to fit some kind of false sense of beauty. But I got the audio and the video of this sister, sadly and unfortunately losing her life, behind getting some cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery. Fair use. I ain't got it turned up.
Who came to Miami from... Well, tonight, only on 6, we are hearing from the family of a young mother who came to Miami from Las Vegas for a cosmetic procedure and died hours later inside a home advertising as a post-surgery recovery house.
NBC6 investigative reporter Amy Viteri spoke with the woman's mother and has why she is calling for change to keep others safe.
Monique's mother, Wakila, tells me she wants to share her daughter's story, but asked not to show her face on camera in an effort to protect her privacy as she mourns the loss of her first child. It was supposed to be an adventure documented on social media. We get us some coffee right now, bro. Two sisters traveling to South Florida from Nevada to get cosmetic surgery and recover together.
They were really excited.
According to their mother, 28-year-old Monique Miller and her 19-year-old sister Kiera both underwent procedures at Havana Plastic Surgery Clinic on West Flagler Street in early March.
And it's a price to pay, behind this nonsense, because I be hearing sisters left and right telling horror stories about them getting these BBLs and, plastic surgery. I just think it's, better to stay the way in which you were created. You know what I mean? Because with social media, it just got people trying to live up to a false sense of, beauty, or trying to chase some amount of money that they see maybe their favorite rapper or, entertainers in general having. It's just, I attribute this, to the social media age we live in, the internet too.
Afterward, she says they came here to a business operating out of this home on Southwest 4th Street called Kayla's Recovery House. According to their family, the sisters learned of this so-called recovery house through social media, and that's how they decided to stay here following their surgery. But Monique never made it home.
I have to remind myself every day that this is real. Monique is not coming back.
Monique's mother, Wakila, tells me she wants to share her daughter's story. Monique was a new mother herself to a 1-year-old girl.
My daughter's supposed to be here with her daughter, and unfortunately she's not.
Instead, according to this Miami police report, officers and fire rescue crews responded to the house the night of March 7th, which they say was operating as an illegal post-plastic surgery recovery home.
Stuff wasn't even an official recovery home for plastic surgery. So I think they need to look into the hospital where it was done, and especially this post-surgery recovery home.
Inside, they found Monique already dead and showing signs of rigor mortis, an indication she had likely been dead for hours. They describe her as heavily bandaged, face down on a bed.
From what Kiera is saying, that a muscle relaxer was given and possibly multiple Percocets.
Her sister...
And I've heard horror stories to where though people going in houses, going traveling other countries, going inside of little janky basements and, getting cosmetic surgery done. It's a price to pay from some of this, nonsense, because truth be told, a lot of these people probably don't even know what they're doing, and administering this kind surgical cosmetic surgery. You know what I mean? So they should look into the hospital where she got it done in this janky recovery house.
Kiera also told police staff gave Amonique medication, which is redacted in this report. She went to sleep, but never woke up.
First, the response was, she's fine, you know, nothing is wrong. But once they realized that she had passed away, then it wasn't that they treated it like an emergency, but panic started to set in.
To be clear, we don't know yet what exactly caused.
They probably tried to cover it up because they know they messed up, you know, and didn't want no trouble to blow back on them.
Caused Amonique's death.
That's correct.
At this time, the medical examiner has not linked any medication to Amonique's death and is still working to determine the cause and manner of death. We contacted an attorney for the woman who runs Kayla's recovery, Kayla Oliver, to ask about all of this. He told us we don't comment on pending investigations.
Someone like you have been reporting on this for 4 years. So where's the legislation? Where's the follow?
That's crazy, family. I just say, you know, people, you know, especially black folks, avoid this, you know, cosmetic, you know, surgery and altering your body at all costs because it's a price to pay. You've seen it right there, you know. A lot of times I'm hearing horror stories about sisters paying with their life and trying to get this cosmetic surgery. But moving right along. I want to touch on another story, family, that I seen with this tether Latino Catholic priest abusing children. You know what I mean? If we hear this type of nonsense, you know, sadly and unfortunately far too often, you know, with these priests and these pastors, you know, abusing young people and, you know, abusing people in general, which is a bunch of nonsense because, you know, they're abusing their position of authority and power to me. You know what I mean? They're using that cloth and saying that they're a person of God to hide behind and do their wicked, you know, and devilish deeds. It's a price to pay for this kind of wickedness, though. You know what I mean? You can never escape karma. But I got the audio and the video of this, family. We're going to talk about it. Fair use. Like I said, a Latino tether Catholic priest misusing and abusing, you know, little children. Insane.
Has been arrested and tonight over allegations of
stuff is screwing up. Hold on, family.
In other news at 10 o'clock, a Roman Catholic priest has been arrested and removed from his Downey parish tonight over allegations of
you always hear about them, you know, people in that Roman Catholic church doing a lot of, you know, wicked nonsense. And they was, you know, enslaving black folks too back in the days.
Child molestation. The clergyman now faces several felony counts and is being held without bail at the Men's Central Jail.
Parishioners were shocked and saddened to hear the news. Carlos Saucedo live outside Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Downey tonight. Carlos?
See, people, some people that don't know no better, you know, they take their kids, you know, to the church and thinking, you know, letting them get up under these pastors, thinking that, you know, that these pastors are good people. In all actuality, these pastors be in the back room somewhere misusing and abusing their kids. You know, you can never trust, you know, anybody nowadays, you know, especially not nowadays. There's a bunch of wicked and, you know, nonsense going on. So you always got to be, you know, never drop your guard down, you know, even if it's, you know, somebody that's supposed to be a priest, because here we have it, you know, Catholic, Roman Catholic priest is abusing his authority and power.
Yeah, many parishioners here in Downey were caught off guard, some having trouble believing the allegations leveled against their priest. Tonight, he remains under arrest.
See, sometimes this stuff is crazy because when people even find out that their pastor or their priest have been, you know, misusing and abusing kids, they still sit there and deny it because in all actuality, they don't want to, you know, come to terms with the person that they've been, you know, following behind is actually a wicked person, you know, at the end of the day.
Arrest. Was stripped of his holy duties after being arrested last week, accused of sexual misconduct with a...
That's why I say, family, that I'm more spiritual of a person, that I don't, you know, follow no religion, because religion, if you ask me, it was orchestrated by man, and anything, you know, man can manipulate, you know, people, and it's just better to be, you know, because we're all gods, and, you know, our females, our sisters are goddesses of their own world. We got the power to bring about, you know, anything we want to existence. We're the author of our own lives, and, you know, people, when you know, follow behind these people thinking, you know, that there's somebody to follow behind, then you're let down when you find out that these people are, you know, just human like us and go through, you know, day-to-day struggles, you know what I mean? Because you can't put your hope into people, especially not no preachers or pastors or, you know, people that's supposed to be in a position of, you know, wearing that cloth, because these people are among some of the most wicked people, you know, in society, cheating on their wives, doing a whole bunch of degenerate nonsense, then got the nerve to come in that church or that cathedral or whatever, you know, that place of worship, and tell you how to live your life and point the finger at you. I don't rock with that, because a lot of these folks, they own backyards ain't clean, yet they want to tell you how to live your life. And let's continue.
Child. The 41-year-old reverend was ordained in June of last year, serving as a priest at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Downey.
Dios mío.
Parishioners telling me in Spanish and English they were blindsided by the announcement.
He was looking a very good priest to us, to me, and I'm surprised.
Arriaga surrendered to law enforcement on a
whatever so-called good that he might have done, that then people are saying, it goes out the window once you misuse and abuse little young children. That good, you know, he supposedly done, all of that, you know, is washed away. And let's continue.
April 3rd, a day after the Archdiocese received a report of criminal sexual misconduct involving a minor. The church turned Arriaga over to authorities and removed him from ministry.
Ugly situation for our families, our kids, our neighborhood.
Many churchgoers taking the news very personal.
I came to church every week, but I don't see anything wrong with him. But as soon as, you know, anybody have a proof, we change our mind. For now, I don't know.
Because these people wear masks, you know, a lot of them people up in that church house, you know, that claim to be about the church, they present themselves in one way, but at the end of the day, in their personal life, you know, they're a demon in disguise, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Late last year, the Archdiocese of LA made history by reaching the largest settlement with sex abuse victims, agreeing to pay $880 million to survivors. The cases involve more than 100.
See, they just, damn, I didn't even, you know that when I didn't catch that on the first go around. They made a settlement with sex abuse people, you know, in the Catholic Church, because they got a long history of misusing and abusing, you know, especially little young children, which is crazy.
Priests over the last 50 years. The church says it has made significant changes to protect children from predators. Regarding the recent allegations against Father Arriaga, the church sent KTLA the following statement, reading in part, quote, "The Archdiocese has a long-standing commitment to the protection of minors and the reporting and prevention of abuse. Allegations of misconduct against anyone serving in the Archdiocese are reported to law enforcement, fully investigated, and under the zero-tolerance policy, anyone who is found to have harmed a minor is permanently removed from any capacity in the Archdiocese."
Yeah, that's why I don't get with, you know, the whole religious thing, because it's just a bunch of nonsense that goes on. You know, the Catholic Pope years ago, they were enslaving black folks, you know, and even with Islam, you know, them Arabs were, you know, among some of the first people in the slave trade. This is why I say, you know, I'm the God of my own life. You know, I control my life, and you know, when I wanted to bring about some change or you know, some of that nature, all I got to do is just sit and you know get in tune with my higher self. But yeah, let's continue, family. Did any of the family here? Almost forgot to mention our brother Lupe Fiasco, the rapper. He become a college professor. You know, so salute to our brother. You know, Lupe Fiasco and that. You know, I don't know if any of the family caught that. You know, I just seen that going around on social media where Lupe Fiasco became a college professor. So salute to our brother on that. But I seen, you know, a few months back where they was saying that, you know, Michelle Obama was, you know, supposedly leaving, you know, getting a divorce from Barack Obama. She came out and, you know, addressed those, you know, allegations. And she said, you know, that it's, you know, it's not true. You know, it's just, you know, people putting out false narratives. But she did say, you know, as to why she wasn't showing up to certain events with the tether Barack Obama is that, you know, she just trying to, you know, carve out her own niche, you know, and do things for herself because, you know, in relationships, family, you can sometimes get so wrapped up in what other people's doing, that you become, a part of, their story instead of having your own story yourself. You know what I mean? You become so entrenched in their lives that you lose who you are. So basically, essentially, that's what I think Michelle Obama was, trying to say. But I got the audio and the video of it, and we're going to talk about it, family. But I don't see why she would that tether Barack Obama no way, because he ain't nothing more than a sorry excuse for a man, who never did nothing for black society, but sat out here and coddled and pampered the folks from the officer community. He gave all of them officers added protection, and passed all them rainbow gang rights, and meanwhile black folks were being misused and abused, and cut down left and right under his administration. He sat up there and turned a blind eye to it. So I never respect Barack Obama. That's why I say I ain't from either party, because both of these, the two particular parties got, anti-black mindsets in them that I just can't get with. I'm for black empowerment first and foremost. They could ask me my religion, I'll say black empowerment. They can ask me, what political party I'm for, I'm gonna say black empowerment. Everything about with me is black empowerment first and foremost. But here go Michelle Obama addressing those rumors about her and
Addressing divorce.
The divorce rumors that were put out there. Because I remember when this was put out there a little bit ago, saying that they were divorcing. Fair use.
Former First Lady Michelle Obama is addressing divorce rumors, explaining why she decided not to attend some high-profile events with her husband. Here's ABC's Andrea Fujii.
She basically says she's just trying to find herself and her voice, because like I said, you can get so wrapped up into other people, when you're in these long-standing relationships, that you lose who you are, and you can never lose who you are for no one or anybody.
Michelle Obama is putting to bed rumors that she and the former president are divorcing.
Now is the time for me to start asking myself these hard questions of who do I truly want to be every day?
Speaking on actress Sophia Bush's podcast, Mrs. Obama, now 61, spoke about her newfound independence. The speculation about her marriage grew in January when former President Obama showed up solo to President Trump's inauguration and to Jimmy Carter's funeral.
We start actually finally going, what am I?
Obama's a sorry excuse for a man, if you ask me. And we thought we had a black ally, and at least I did, Barack Obama, because that's why I voted for him. He got up here. I voted for him twice, and he got up here and turned a blind eye to black folks being cut down left and right. In favor of giving all of these other groups of people rights, and rolling the red carpet out for them.
What am I doing? Who am I doing this for? And if it doesn't fit into the sort of stereotype of what people think we should do, then it gets labeled as something negative and horrible.
She was in Hawaii on vacation during Carter's funeral, and she says she chose not to attend the Trump inauguration. She says not being tied to political life, and with her daughters now grown, she has more time for herself.
When you in the public spotlight, I hear a lot of, affluent people, they say this, that they just want a normal life, instead of having someone always pry into your, day-to-day coming and going, and monitoring you. Some people, they just, seek to go under the radar and try to, live somewhat of a normal life, because when you're always under the spotlight of the public, that could put strain on a relationship.
I couldn't even fathom that I was making a choice for myself, that they had to assume that my husband and I are divorcing. This couldn't be a grown woman just making a set of decisions for herself.
She recently started a podcast with her brother and continues to work with her production company. As for their 32-year marriage, former President Obama acknowledges their need for fun.
I was in a deep deficit with my wife. So I have been trying to dig myself out of that hole by doing occasionally fun things.
Mrs. Obama does admit to arguing with the former president about what to watch on TV.
Everybody has little arguments with you in a relationship so long, but it's just good to know, I don't rock with, the Democrats or the Republicans. I especially take a disliking to Barack Obama, tether behind for, him turning a blind eye, to black people's needs and issues, and prioritizing all these other groups. But it's good to see, that they still together, because I do love to see the optics, from an optics standpoint of black love. But moving right along. This is news down here in my area, that's going on. It's just a little article I read, family, but I ain't got no video or nothing of this one. But it's 7 schools districts in York County, PA, could lose $12 million in funding, because the Trump administration is revoking funding. And evidently, what had happened was, I guess, the funding was allocated to, the school districts, but then they revoked the funding. So they say, if things like this, they weren't to get the funding, the funding was revoked, but if, this will be, ongoing and they possibly, wouldn't get any funding from the government for these school districts here in York County, it will possibly, put up, it always finds a way back to the we the people, the tax-paying citizens. They say it'll up school taxes in the area, this, that, and the third. And basically, what the funding was bring about was the funding was for like mental health programs in school. They say HVAC systems in the school, and they say the internet for the schools. So I guess the funding has been revoked as of now. But if the funding, doesn't ever get to where though they can access these funds, I guess this could blow back how it normally does, onto tax-paying citizens, with everything so high. Trump is just hell bent on dismantling the Department of Education. I don't rock with that, aspect, but yeah, family, because some black folks, they try to, play this game of denial where though we can't be affected by none of Trump's policies. That ain't me, you know what I mean? Well, I know DEI and things of that nature don't benefit black folks, and I'm gonna get into that a little bit later in the live stream. But I'm just not one of them black folks that's gonna sit up and say, we can't catch some of the blowback, to none of this because, black youth go to them schools. So I'll be lying. So I just, I like to call out the BS on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, and that's just me. I call them out fair and equal because I don't like either one of them. The only thing I'm for and in favor of is black empowerment. And I seen something, damn, I gotta go over here to TikTok for this one. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I want to show y'all the video on this one though, because it's some nonsense that went on in New Mexico at a HM store where they was denying young black sisters service. So yeah, I want to get over there to this one. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is think what I'm gonna have to do is hopefully that works. I think I can do it this way. Hopefully they don't start playing that, because as soon as you get over here, yep, they're gonna put me right. That's what I don't like about TikTok. Put you right in, put you right in the algorithm. It don't let you just, pick the videos yourself. It just automatically dumps you into the algorithm. I don't like that. It starts showing you stuff, dumps you into the videos. Just block. Trying to find videos. A friend be sending me good videos. About to talk about it. Oh, what's this? Messages. What the hell is going on? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Is it? Yep, here we go. Where's my? The hell? What's going on, family? Just a second, bear with me. Having technical difficulty. There we go. couldn't find the video nowhere else, so I'm like, let me just go over here to TikTok. Real quick. No, I think I went too far up. Here we go, family. So like I said, family, it's out there in New Mexico. Sorry about that, interruption, my stuff lagging and me not being able to find it. But out here in New Mexico, two young sisters went into a HM department store, and they were, the lady started taking the clothes from them. They had some clothes in their hand, and they were, told to leave the store. And they were given, no excuse as to why they were, asked to leave the store. And if you ask me, it wasn't nothing but the store manager practicing anti-black racism. One of the security guards, he's not, pictured, but he said, our sisters were stealing this, that, and the other. But when the sisters asked for, camera footage of them stealing, if they were stealing, they didn't produce it because they know it wasn't about stealing. They know it was just about that store manager practicing anti-black racism. This is why I say that we, start removing support from these stores and supporting black-owned businesses, because this is how we strike back at, these stores for pulling this anti-black nonsense. How they pull, we weaponize the black dollar and support black-owned businesses. But upon me doing my research, my little homework, they said the HM, they spoke out about, the racial discrimination, that they did to the two young black sisters. They said that the store manager was no longer working for them, and they did a bunch of explaining, and they the two young sisters, I guess they were news outlets tried to actually reach out to them, but they said that they ain't gonna do any comments because they were told to stay quiet by their lawyer. And I think these two young sisters should sue the pants off of this HM department store, regardless if they got rid of this anti-black manager, because stores just have a track record of thinking that they can misuse and abuse our people, which this won't be tolerated. So I got the audio and the video of this nonsense that's going on out there in New Mexico at this HM department store. We're going to talk about it. But, they tried to say our sisters were stealing, which is a bunch of nonsense. The store manager would just took it upon herself to, practice anti-black racism. That's all this was a case of.
Today, I would love to know, take that. If you guys could go ahead and please leave the store, we'd really appreciate it.
Wait, so why do you have to leave the store?
Because we're just refusing service. We don't have to have a reason.
I think you should have a reason for kicking us out of the store. We're just shopping here. What is your reason?
To be quite completely honest with you, I don't have to have a reason. I'm just letting you guys know.
So, are you going to kick everyone else out of the store too?
It's funny. If we have the right to refuse, honest with you, I don't have to have a reason. I'm just letting you guys know.
So, are you going to kick everyone else out of the store too?
If we have the right to refuse service to anybody, so I'm having the right to refuse service to you guys. I don't have to have a reason. So that is my reason. So I'm just asking you guys to please leave the store today.
It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It's really happening. So you've seen us steal before? Is that what you're saying?
Nobody said that at all.
That's what he said. That we're repeat shoplifters here.
We've seen you in here before. I didn't say
I have
that.
not been here.
So
I haven't been here. I don't even know the last time.
To be honest with you guys, we've seen you in here plenty of times before.
Us too.
Yeah, I've seen people.
Do you have like a picture? Because it's not us.
I don't need to show you guys. I'm refusing
They
service
seen them
to
in
you
there
guys
before,
today.
but yet won't
I've asked
provide
you guys to
receipts
please
or
leave the
no,
store. I don't need you guys to
camera
get
footage
violent or
of it.
anything like
Why
that.
violent?
So you guys are.
Let's go. Let's go.
If you guys want, I'll talk to you guys outside.
How are you getting violent? Violent. It's crazy.
Let me rewind that
Guys,
back.
I'm
You hear what
refusing
she
service
said?
to you guys today. I've asked you guys to please leave the store. I don't need you guys to get violent or anything
Why
like that.
violent?
You guys are.
Let's go.
Violent.
You guys, I'm
You know,
refusing
that's
service to
a
you
white
guys today.
supremacist talking
I've asked
point
you guys
there
to
too,
please
that
leave
all
the
black
store. I
people are
don't need you guys to
violent.
get violent
You know,
or
that's
anything
what they
like
how
that.
they sell up in their mind.
Let's go.
Sleep
Let's
better at
go.
the end of the night.
If you guys want, I'll talk to you guys outside.
How are you getting violent?
Peace to my brother.
Violent.
R.S.
It's crazy.
I mean,
This is. I can't believe this is
A-R-A-S-S.
actually happening.
Today, I will go ahead
Yeah,
and
that
talk
is
to
discrimination,
If you guys
family.
could go ahead and please leave the store, we'd really
Wait,
appreciate
so why do you have to leave the store?
it. Because
Yeah, that was I was trying to pause it, family, you know, to be able to break it down, but that TikTok app acts strange in that way. You know, on the phone it'll let me pause it, but when I get to the computer, it don't let me, pause it. Yeah, family, I'm with you. RASX, that was, certainly a case of, racial discrimination and them displaying their anti-black views on things because the security guard is nasty behind, he should be let go as well, saying our sister stole. If they stole, then where's, the footage at, and when our sisters asked for footage or some camera angles, they never produced it. This was just a way of them, practicing their anti-black racism and, taking up an anti-black stance on things. And then she tried to slip in there at the end, I don't want you to get violent. This is what they love to tell themselves. And that's a white supremacist talking point as well, that, all black people are just, so violent. And I say that our sisters, hopefully, they have watched this or come across this video, on the internet. I say they sue the pants off of this HM store because, that security guard he's gotten rid of too, and, the store manager was gotten rid of, but that's not enough, because we got to put a message out there, set a precedence that, this kind of blatant disrespect of, our people won't be tolerated, you know what I mean? And how we strike back at these kind of stores that practice this anti-black racism is, we sue the pants off of them, start weaponizing the dollar, a black dollar, doing more business with black-owned businesses, so that removes, disempowers them, all while empowering ourselves, all while empowering black society. But moving right along. Yeah, that HM store was out there in New Mexico, though, family. And this is one that really got me. I got to go back over here to, where am I going now? To YouTube to get this story. Hate when I got to jump around, when I can't just find stories, like all on one platform. I don't really even like going over there to that TikTok platform because it don't even let me pause the video for some strange reason. Hopefully it ain't my computer, but I think it's that website over there because I could pause it on my phone, but then when it comes to my computer, it don't, want to let me do it when I'm physically watching them off the laptop. So I could talk about it. What the hell? Okay. Where's it at? 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 Here we go.
This is Democracy Now!
Okay, I came across this, on Democracy Now! Family, and, I'm surprised I didn't hear nobody talking about this, but our sister Harriet Tubman's, name and likeness was removed from the National Parks website. Although it was put back up, I don't like this because, this is just a way of them, practicing more anti-black racism. You know what I mean? And now it was put back up, and the National Parks Service did put it back up, so I want to be clear about that. But I don't believe in this many coincidence. I believe this is coming down from the Trump administration on them wanting to remove our black icons from things. They did it to uh, 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 the baseball player. His name, pardon me on that. His name, slips me right now. Jackie Robinson. There we go. Yeah, they took Jackie Robinson down. They just doing a bunch of nonsense, and I don't believe in that many coincidences. And like I said, I'm not one of them black folks that's gonna, go around here, with the false narrative of that, what he's doing can't harm and hurt, black people, because it could have some blowback on the black people. Now the DEI thing, which this lady's going to talk about, some of what this sister's talking about in the video that we about to play. I believe she Black American too, and some of what she about to say, I do agree with, but a good bit of what she say I don't agree with, because she was coming from a Democratic shield standpoint and trying to push, DEI to us and, immigration. I don't rock with that. That's about the only thing that Donald Trump does that I do rock with, is getting up all of this mass immigration up out of, America, which harms and hurts, foundational Black Americans. But, as for, them removing our sister Harriet Tubman, that's a bunch of nonsense. I didn't like that, because with the Trump, administration, along with, white supremacist society, the dominant white society as a whole, what they want to do is they want to, take the sting out of Black, history to make it more digestible for, white society. White society don't like, their children being hit with this harsh reality of the wickedness that their ancestors did. So, I don't rock with this, because I think that's what they're trying to do is, dilute Black history and make it more digestible for white society and flip and reshape narratives. And as we get further into this video, you'll see why I say that, family. Fair use.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. The National Park Service Monday appeared to have restored its original webpage on the history of the Underground Railroad following a backlash over its deletion of a...
They tried to whitewash it on the National Park Service's webpage. They tried to make it like, it was an equal fight between, Black people and white people to, abolish slavery, this, that, and the other. When, white people, for the most part, you might have had some white people that were, helping and abolish it, but for the most part, they didn't want to abolish slavery. They looked at it as a good thing. They had the Black people doing, free labor, so, they was getting paid, for absolutely, they was getting paid not on their hard work and tenacity, but off of ours, so they didn't want to, abolish slavery, and they just trying to all-inclusive, Black history, and dilute it to make it more digestible to little white kids, to where though they don't got to face the harsh realities of the atrocities that their white ancestors committed against Black folks, and I don't rock with that.
Prominent image of abolitionist Harriet Tubman, as well as edits to the text that minimize the horrors of slavery. Instead,
they trying to minimize the horrors of slavery, and dilute it so they can make it more digestible for little white kids, to where though, when it's, talked about in schools that, they could dilute it and, take the sting out of Black history. Damn, now we got to keep things, true, right, and exact, and we got to speak the truth, because the truth at the end of the day is the only thing that'll set us free.
Talking about white-Black cooperation. A Washington Post investigation published Sunday found in the weeks following Trump's inauguration, Tubman's photograph had been removed and replaced with images of Postal Service stamps that highlighted this Black-white cooperation. Late last month, President Trump issued an executive order titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, which claims the Smithsonian's museums have come under, quote, the influence of a divisive race-centered ideology, unquote.
See, white supremacist society, sometimes they try to give off an illusion to where as though, America is just one big mixing pot, where people could come and, everybody got their chance at experiencing the American dream if they just work hard enough. And this is, a misnomer, because white supremacy certainly exists. And when we speak the truth in regards to white supremacy, what the white supremacist system has done to our people, foundational Black Americans, they don't like that, because they try to, dilute our history, and whitewash our history in favor of having it, taking the sting out of it to make it more digestible. I don't rock with that.
The order singles out the National Museum of African American History and Culture, inaugurated by President Obama in 2016. On Friday, Kevin Young, the director of the museum since 2021, resigned. Our next guest argues nothing about these efforts to whitewash American history, nor the Trump administration's expanding crackdown on dissent and immigration, should be surprising to Americans. Fordham University professor Christina Greer's latest op-ed for the New York Times is headlined, Black Americans are not surprised. She writes, quote, it's frightening and disappointing.
But some of what our sister was saying about them trying to whitewash our history as foundational Black Americans, I agree with, but that's the extent of it because the rest of the video, it's a 10-minute video. I ain't going to play it. She just goes on to talk about, how we should be sold on immigration, things can, have an effect on us. And, I'm not one of them people, that's going to sit up here and say that we can't be affected because sometimes I'm seeing, Black folks on the internet saying we can't be hurt by none of this, that, and the third, what's going on right now. And to me, that's a false narrative because Black people can, get some of the blowback that's, being done. But DEI, that never, benefited no foundational Black Americans. So they could miss me with that whole DEI thing. Anything we had to stand on our own wherewithal and tenacity and get it out of the mud. We had to work hard at, everything we got, and that benefited, Rainbow Gang, immigrants, white women, they benefited off of that. We ain't benefit off of no DEI. And she was trying to, go on to do explaining as why DEI having things removed like that will, hurt foundational Black Americans and why we should be sold on immigration, which is a Democratic talking point. This is why I say I don't get with either of the parties because both of them got an anti-Black, stance on things. And case in point, them, removing our sister Harriet Tubman's name and likeness from the National Park Service. I don't believe that was a coincidence. I believe, that was done by the Trump administration because they know that many coincidences in the world. They removing, stuff left and right when it comes to Black history. And I know it's just, symbolism and things, but that's our prominent elite class of foundational Black Americans. We don't want to have our people removed from things like that. So I get pushback and resistance to it in that regard. But I also, on the other hand, know that DEI never benefited us. That's a Democratic talking point that DEI and these things will benefit us, and they try to sell us. They want to sell us the Democrats now. I'm talking about on why mass immigration is good. That's not a good thing for foundational Black Americans. That's hurting us because they taking jobs and they coming over here. Most of them got an anti-Black stance on things, even if they are melanated. They don't got no Black mind whatsoever. They hate on foundational Black Americans. They got vitriol because they want to be us but can't be us. They had to flee, and then when they come over here, they got some kind of a gripe with us and some kind of hate and vitriol with us because we're the ones that never fled. We're still on our homeland, our soil. We still been fighting truth to power to where though they've been conquered, for the most part by white supremacist society. And we've never been conquered as a people. Our minds have never been. A lot of these people, their minds have been conquered. And once you get the mind, the body gonna go. The mind controls the body. So once you got a person defeated in the mind, you got that person defeated. And that's never been our stance as foundational Black Americans. But I just wanted to bring that to the family, how they tried to get rid of our sister Harriet Tubman's likeness from the national parks, webpage. I didn't like that. Even though they put it back up, I don't believe in that many coincidences. It's coming down from the Trump administration, and I ain't one of them Black folks that's gonna play a game of the now and say that we can't be, hurt by some of the policies and things that Trump is putting together. This is why I say we opt out of, support of, any of these two parties. Maybe we got to start, forming our own FBA political party to where though we could push our issues and have somebody that's really going to advocate for our, group and not have, dual allegiances to where they pushing some kind of narrative that's coming down from the Republicans or the Democrats, But I just wanted to bring that to the family. And thank you for everyone for tapping in with me. Peace to the family. RASX, he always in here, showing love and support. Peace to you, my brother, and peace to everyone else for tapping in with me. Have a good weekend, a safe weekend, and remember, like I always say, family, be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. I'm getting ready to hop off of here. Peace to the family.